Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going on an absolutely incredible journey. We're going to connect the deepest, most hidden whispers of your inner thoughts to the roaring, literal clash of one of history's most epic battles. It's essentially a story about how mastering the quiet universe inside your head translates directly into beating impossible odds out in the real world. Okay, let's dive into this. Who is actually in the driver's seat of your life? I mean, is it your physical brain or is it your soul? To figure this out, we're looking at a brilliant analysis by the late Dr. Farid Al-Ansari. May God have mercy on him. He took a really deep dive into the true nature of human consciousness and how we actually make choices. Dr. Al-Ansari makes this profound distinction. Modern science often just stops at the brain, treating it like it's the absolute boss of our actions. But actually, the brain is really just a highly advanced biological recording machine. It's a transmitter. The soul, on the other hand, is the ultimate executive decision maker. Like, your brain might give you a dozen medical reasons why, say, smoking is terrible for you, but if your soul hasn't truly accepted that reality and submitted to it, you're going to light up anyway. The soul is the independent force that either accepts or completely rejects the truth. And that brings us to a historical moment that literally terrified the early companions of the Prophet. It was the revelation of this specific verse from Surah Al-Baqarah. Whether you show what is within yourselves or conceal it, Allah will bring you to account for it. When they heard this, absolute panic set in. The sheer humanity of the companions here is just fascinating. They rushed to the Prophet, completely overwhelmed. They were basically asking, how in the world can we control our own intrusive thoughts? How do we police those sudden, dark whispers that just pop into our heads without our permission? To them, this felt like a totally impossible standard. I mean, if the soul is the ultimate decision maker and it's suddenly flashing a negative thought, are we just doomed? The Prophet's response to their panic was incredibly firm. In fact, he was actually quite upset that they might complain about a divine command and kind of fall into the trap of previous nations who famously said, "We hear and we disobey." Instead, he guided them firmly. He told them to say with absolute resolve, "We hear and we obey." See, he wasn't telling them to stop being human. He was teaching them the ultimate inner submission. By declaring absolute surrender to the Creator, even when their minds were terrified, they were actively training their souls to submit completely. Section 1. The Spiritual Weapon. Mastering the inner struggle through supplication. So once the soul actually reaches this level of submission, how does it fight its battles? Well, it needs a weapon. Drawing on the insights of Sheikh Hamad al-Atiq, we learn exactly how a submitted soul arms itself, and that is through dua, or supplication. Sheikh al-Atiq beautifully points out that dua isn't just some basic transaction where you ask for a new car, a promotion, or good health. No, it is the physical and spiritual manifestation of the soul realizing it has absolutely zero power without God. It's stepping into a state of intense poverty, just openly admitting you are entirely reliant on the divine for literally every breath you take. But for this spiritual weapon to actually work, it relies on some strict pillars. First up, sincere monotheism, meaning directing that call to God alone. Second is absolute vulnerability, or iftikhar. Think of Moses fleeing to Midian, right? He's hungry, he's terrified, and he cries out in total vulnerability. And because of that pure submission, he was granted safety, a family, and a livelihood almost instantly. The third pillar is unwavering certainty that you'll be answered. And fourth, relentless consistency. You don't just try this once like some quirky science experiment, you have to fully commit to it. To really wrap your head around this, look at the incredible story of Ikrimah ibn Abi Jahl. Before his conversion, he was fleeing from the Muslims by sea. Suddenly, this horrific, violent storm hits. As massive waves are crashing over them, the sailors realize their pagan idols aren't going to save them. They had to pray purely and sincerely to God alone. In that terrifying moment, Ikrimah realized a profound truth. He thought, if only pure, absolute submission to the Creator can save me out here at sea, well, it's the exact same thing that can save me on land. He pledged right then and there to return and submit completely. Keep Ikrimah in the back of your mind, because this realization, it's about to change history. Section 2. The Outer Manifestation. The ultimate physical test at your mook. Let's move on and see how this all builds up. We are dramatically shifting the scale now, going from the quiet, internal struggles of the soul and a lonely ship in a storm, straight to the roaring, bloody, sun-baked sands of the Levant. Welcome to the Battle of Yarmouk. The physical reality on the ground here is an absolute nightmare. You've got 34,000 Muslim soldiers standing against a massive, heavily armored Byzantine Roman army of over 200,000 men. It's a literal tidal wave of iron and gold. Mathematically, logically, it's an impossible equation. But remember, we're talking about souls that have mastered inner submission. Before these massive armies even clash, this giant Roman commander steps out to strike fear into the Muslim ranks. But the ranks just part, and out steps al-Qaqa bin Amr. He lets out this singular, terrifying roar that practically shakes the Roman lines, and in the blink of an eye, he strikes the giant down. Boom, done. Abu Bakr actually once said that the voice of al-Qaqa in an army is better than 1,000 men. This moment instantly proved that an internally submitted soul just cannot be intimidated by external numbers. But make no mistake, the battle itself was absolutely brutal. By the second day, the sheer crushing weight of the Roman numbers caused the Muslim right flank to collapse. It took the brilliant general Khalid ibn al-Walid desperately intervening with a rapid response force of just 100 riders to plug the gap. And then came the infamous Day of Lost Eyes, where this relentless storm of Roman arrows blinded hundreds of Muslim fighters. The physical toll was just unimaginable. The army was teetering right on the brink of total annihilation. So the crucial turning point is what happens next. In the midst of this horrific collapse, a man steps forward and literally breaks the scabbard of his sword. That's a universal signal for there is no retreat. It is Ikrimah ibn Abi Jahal, the exact same guy who learned that brutal lesson of pure submission in the storm at sea. He cries out with absolute defiance, "I fought the messenger of Allah in every place, and I flee from you today? Who pledges death with me?" Immediately, 400 of the bravest fighters rally to his side, forming the legendary Battalion of Death. Stripped down to their absolute ultimate faith, these 400 men threw their bodies directly into the overwhelming Roman war machine. They literally functioned as a human shield, an uncompromising wall of submitted souls, buying just enough precious time for the retreating Muslim army to regroup and counterattack. And this brilliantly illustrates the core message of our whole explainer today. Just look at this stark contrast. The physical reality, it loudly dictated that defeat was absolutely certain. Bodies were broken, exhausted, blinded. But the spiritual reality dictated something entirely different. Because they had learned to submit their souls completely, overcoming the terror of their own inner thoughts and arming themselves with the absolute vulnerability of dua, they unlocked a victory that changed the map of the world forever. It leaves us with a really profound question to reflect on. We often feel completely overwhelmed by the odds against us in our own lives, whether it's our careers, our health, or even our own anxieties and intrusive thoughts. But if you can do the hard work of truly mastering the submission of your own soul to your Creator, and if you can weaponize your vulnerability through sincere prayer, what external battle could possibly defeat you? I really hope this dive into history and spirituality sparked some deep reflection for you today. Follow for more explainers, and definitely check out the boxes link in the first comment. See you next time.